all across America and around the world. This is Veterans Radio. This is Veterans Radio.
Good day. I'm Jim Fossone. I'm the officer of the deck today here on Veterans Radio, and thanks for joining us. We've got some interesting stories for you. We always want to remind you you can find more about Veterans Radio at its Facebook site or at the web, veteransradio.org, where we're on the web 24/7. You can find a lot of our podcasts there as well. We post new ones every Tuesday, so you can get a new story, a new interview, something you didn't know before by going to veteransradio.org. And before we get started, we want to thank our sponsors. First up, we want to thank National Veteran Business Development Council, nvbdc.org. It was established to certify both service-disabled and veteran-owned businesses. You'll find out how they can help your business by going to nvbdc.org. We want to thank Legal Help for Veterans. Legal Help for Veterans fights for veterans' disability rights all across the nation. You can reach them at 800-693-4800 or on the web at legalhelpforveterans.com. And finally, PuroClean. PuroClean is the paramedics of property damage. It provides water damage remediation, flood water removal, fire and smoke damage remediation, mold removal, biohazard cleanup. It also has a focus on veteran franchisees. You can learn more about them by going to puroclean.com. We want to give you a little advance notice. We're going to have a Veterans Radio event on Sunday, September 28th, 2025. Radio on the River. We're doing a new location on Freedom River in Livingston County, Michigan. We want you to save the date. We're going to have veteran storytelling and guest speakers. We'll have raffle items, great local musicians and food. Also, uniquely, there's going to be an opportunity to fly in a UH-1 Huey from the Michigan Flight Museum. And maybe you can also win a free ride that way. But plan on supporting Veterans Radio either by buying tickets or sponsoring Radio on the River. Contact us at Dale@veteransradio.org or Jim@veteransradio.org to get more information, but we'd love to have you come out, and we'd certainly love to have you sponsor. We just want to remind you that Veterans Radio podcasts are available on all your favorite streaming platforms, including RSS.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Rees Across America Radio. So wherever you are, you can find us, whether it's on your mobile phone or your computer or your laptop, your tablet. But listen in to Veterans Radio Podcasts. We post something new every week, and you're going to find it informative. We want to welcome to Veterans Radio today Army veteran Wayne DeLoria. But we're going to talk a little bit about his 20 years in the Army, but we really have him on because he's going to be one of our musical guests at Radio on the River, Sunday, September 28th, 2025, from 1 to 5 p.m. at Freedom Rivers, which is a nice, very big complex out at 6716 Winans Lake Road in Brighton, Michigan. We want you to come out to support Veterans Radio. This is our third or fourth Radio on the River. It's our annual fundraiser, but more importantly, we want you to come out and take advantage of some of the opportunities to hear some great music. Wayne, welcome to Veterans Radio.
Thanks. I've been reading up on it, and I'm learning a lot more. I wasn't that familiar with it before you asked me to play.
Well, we're glad to have you along. When this came up in its location, I said, hey, I know a guy. He's been doing music for decades, all kinds of things from pop, folk, light rock, country from the 60s through today, and I think he'd be great for this crowd. So, Wayne, how did you turn yourself into this quite amazing troubadour?
Well, actually, I've been studying music since I was 7, and I got very involved in musical theater stuff in high school. As a matter of fact, my first year of college at University of Massachusetts was in musical theater. And I played in bands and all that stuff before I joined the Army, and then I did 20 years. When I got out, I picked up again and been playing now for about 20 years.
Well, this was always in your DNA then, if it goes all the way back to being a 7-year-old when most of us were resisting those music lessons, and that's why you're a professional, and guys like me can just sit in the back and go, yeah, I couldn't do that. I have no skill set, no musical ability.
I thank my mom and dad for making me practice and making me take those lessons for so long, because now it's really turned out to be a good thing.
Well, it certainly has, because you do this. You play not only up in the Southeast Michigan area, but down in Florida. Tell us some of the locations that you play at.
Well, I've been mostly in and around Fort Myers Beach area, Florida. And I've played most of the restaurants and bars there over the last 15, 16 years. And then up here, I play at Captain Joe's Grill in Whitmore Lake every Friday evening, and then I do a bunch of private gigs. So,
well, he makes it sound like he has to keep moving around in Fort Myers every time his bar bill gets too big. He moves to another restaurant, but I think it's more about being successful and folks want you there. Tell us a little bit about your style.
Well. And growing up, I played in bands and stuff, but normally I've always sort of played an acoustic guitar, and I did a couple of solo acts and a couple of duets before I joined the Army, but now I'm just doing all by myself, single act, and with today's computer aided boxes, I can do harmonies and drums, and I play harmonica, and so it gets me a band sound without having the cumbersome band around you all the time. So.
Well, the only one you have to say, hey, you messed that song up or you forgot those lyrics is yourself, right?
There's only one guy to blame, you bet.
Well, we're really looking forward to what you put together for Radio on the River on September 28th at Freedom River outside Brighton, Michigan, as a support for Veterans Radio. Have you begun to think about the kind of music you might play?
Well, I'm a cover player. I don't write or do my own stuff, but I'm coming up with some ideas. I think I have a medley of all the military songs, caissons and the Air Force song, all those. So I could do that, but my background is mostly in the 60s and 70s, so you're going to hear a lot of that stuff.
Well, that's certainly the music those in Vietnam experienced, sure. And we've often had guests on and musical guests on, as well as authors about music in the military. It's really sort of, they go hand in hand. You have a lot of downtime, you got to do something, and listening to music is part of it, and you probably saw that as part of your 20 years of active duty service as well in the Army.
Oh, yeah, I made more money playing in bands as a private than I did as a private.
Shh, don't tell command. Well, we're glad to have Wayne DeLoria on the program for Radio on the River. Wayne, if folks want to know more about you and maybe how to line you up for a gig, give us somewhere they should go.
Well, you can always go to my website. It's at deloriahurst.com/tunes. So it's DELORIAHURST.com/tunes, TUNES. And I have pictures up there, and I have some of my clips and my song list and that kind of stuff.
Well, as I said earlier, Wayne performs in Southeast Michigan May through November, but like any smart Army major, he knows when to pull up the tent and head south, and he's down in Fort Myers Beach, Florida area from December through April, and we're really glad to have him on our program. Wayne, before we kind of move into something else, I guess I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I haven't let you elaborate on it. How did a nice kid from like you from Massachusetts end up in the Army?
I was nominated and appointed to West Point right out of high school by Congressman Bolin. And I went to take my physical, and my eyes caused me to flunk. So at that point, I had 5 swimming scholarships at different colleges that I turned down. So I ended up going to UMass. I was not impressed with their swim team or the campus that much. So I left after a year and joined the Army.
You didn't just join the Army; you made a career out of the Army. So tell us a little bit about that career.
Well, as an enlisted person, I was 6 years enlisted. I was in military intelligence in the Army. Served a number of places overseas, and as a matter of fact, my AIT, my school was at Fort Devens, Massachusetts, 60 miles from home. But while I was there, they had an extracurricular band, a marching band, and I ended up being the NCOIC of that band. But I did 6 years enlisted time, and then I went to OCS, Officer Candidate School, and got commissioned into the Signal Corps and retired as a major.
And your travels took you around the world, but also working with all kind of allies of the United States. That's sort of an interesting part of the career. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, the Army paid for my undergraduate and graduate degrees in computer science, and then they sent me to the Computer Systems Center in Fort Huachuca, where I worked on some big contracts which were used by some of our allies. So I got to spend some time with the allies on that. And then I left there and went to D.C., where I was in the Defense Communications Agency working on an international project. And so I worked very closely with NATO and the CCEB, the Combined Communications Electronics Board, which is Australia, Canada, New Zealand, England, and the U.S., and then some Asian countries as well, because we were revamping the Allied communications system for messaging. So I got to spend a lot of time on an airplane.
Well, let's face it, you can't have a joint fighting force with our allies unless you can communicate, right?
Right. And the system that we were using, that we were trying to replace, had been around for 40 or 50 years, and it was really, really ancient and cost a lot of money to maintain. So our job was to take email as we know it and make it secure and reliable and all that stuff, so that it could be used for command and control.
As you look back on it today, did that kid who joined up to enlisted in the Army ever think this would turn into a career?
Actually, because I was interested in West Point and stuff, I actually did think of it as a career. And after they sent me to my undergraduate and graduate programs, then I owed them so much that I didn't have much choice but to stay in.
That's right. Yeah. They know how to handcuff you.
Yeah, but that was the plan. So and 20 years is not that long. So.
Well, there's the right way to look at it. Looking back, 20 years doesn't seem very long. You got out and worked in the defense industry for a little bit.
Right.
But it sounds like music was kind of always at the core of your DNA and soul, and you ultimately found your way back into it on a more full-time gig as much as you want, I suppose.
Well, my wife and I were very fortunate in that we saved well, and we had a little bit of money handed down to us from our parents, and so we got to retire early. I was 51, and Julie was 40, and we retired early, and that's when I decided, now that I don't have to worry about the money, I could start playing, and because I know a lot of starving musicians, so.
Oh, absolutely. And your wife, Julie Hurst, a PhD, is a lovely lady, much nicer than you or me.
Yeah.
That's why our spouses get along so well. But that also, it's a burden's maybe not the right word, but you have to have a partner who lets you do those things, don't you?
Right. And when we retired, we moved here to Michigan because that's Julie's alma mater. So we come here to do the football games, and then after football season, we head down to Florida.
Yeah, I know that routine. I live that routine. So, well, again, I want to thank you, Wayne DeLoria, for spending some time with us today on Veterans Radio, but more importantly, to committing to help out Veterans Radio on its fundraiser, Radio on the River, where we're going to have all kinds of resource providers. The VA is going to be there to help out, but all sorts of different folks. We'll have some food. We'll have some music. This year's big surprise reveal is we're going to have a Huey helicopter there from the Michigan Flight Museum, formerly known as Yankee Air Museum, where you can buy a ride and get up and hear the whoop 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 go through the air. So that's going to be pretty cool too, and we're really looking forward to this new venue, which is freedomriver.org. If you go to their website, you can learn more about it. So, Wayne, thanks for some time today, and we look forward to seeing you out there at Freedom River.
That's great. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
And I want to thank everybody for listening to Veterans Radio today. I am Jim Faussone. It's been a pleasure to be your host. I'm a veterans disability lawyer at Legal Help for Veterans, and you can reach us at 800-693-4800 or legalhelpforveterans.com on the web. You can follow Veterans Radio on Facebook and listen to its podcasts and internet radio shows by visiting us at veteransradio.org. That's veteransradio.org. We again want to thank our national sponsors, the National Veterans Business Development Council, nvbdc.org, Legal Help for Veterans, a veterans disability law firm with a national practice before the VA, can help you on your claims and your appeals. It can be reached at legalhelpforveterans.com or 1-800-693-4800. And PuroClean, a leader in property emergency services. It's the paramedics of property damage, providing water damage remediation, flood water removal, fire and smoke damage remediation, mold and biohazard cleanups. You can reach them at puroclean.com or 800-775-7876. We also want to thank our local sponsors. This would include the Charles S. Kettles chapter of the Vietnam Veterans of America, that's chapter 310, VFW Graf O'Hara Post 423, the American Legion Irwin Preskin Post 46 in Ann Arbor as well, the VA Ann Arbor Healthcare System, and certainly the National Vietnam Veterans of America Association. You can be a sponsor by going to veteransradio.org, clicking on the About Us and our sponsors, and help us out. Keep this program alive for the 21 and 22 years. Keep us going for another 20. Thank you.